All right, welcome back to another episode of Small Guys Podcast. Today we're reviewing Joker 2, or the title, Joker Folie Deux. Struggling with dual identity, failed comedian Arthur Fleck meets the love of his life, Harley Quinn, while incarcerated at Arkham State Hospital. This movie has a 33% critic score and a
Brutal.
31% audience score. It's 2 hours, 18 minutes, rated R.
Yeah,
Andrew,
that's how
what'd you
I
think?
felt too. Well. I wonder.
Well, hold
first
on.
of
I
all,
want to say this real quick.
yeah,
I like this more than you do. I think. We'll figure out
you
scores
do.
at the end. We have no clue. We didn't
Yeah,
talk
you
about this
do.
before, but I think I do like this a
So
little bit more than you. Go ahead, though.
first off, I wonder if you think you pronounced the real title right?
Yeah, so I looked it up,
Okay,
and I watched someone say the title,
say
and
it.
it's Folie Adieu.
Okay, I'm gonna believe you.
Now, I could be doing it wrong. Maybe that guy's doing it wrong.
Anyway,
We're going to refer to it as Joker 2, though.
Yeah, we will. So
Yeah,
me
go
and Emma and I went and saw this, and I went into it knowing that it already was getting not good reviews. So
Yeah.
my platter was already kind of spoiled, I guess you could say. However, I try to be optimistic with that in mind, because I really liked the first Joker movie and I thought it was really good. It was rarely do I buy a movie after seeing it, but I actually bought that movie after seeing it. So my hopes before hearing anything about this were good. Once I heard it was a musical, my expectations.
Same director.
Yeah, but once I heard it was a musical, my expectations kind of tapered, and I was like, okay, I don't think I'm gonna really like this. I'm not a huge musical fan, but maybe there's
Great
a chance
showman,
here.
though. Greatest showman.
Yeah, and La La Land. There are some
La La
out there that I have enjoyed, so it's not an immediate dislike, but
Right.
it was over the top. That's what I thought as a musical. It truly was. I was hoping that I had hopes that it was going to be still an action drama movie with a taste of a musical. And I think so. Here's right off the bat how I would have done it. Obviously, I know nothing, other than being on this podcast here. I don't know that much about movies. They could have made it a musical, but instead of it being every 10 minutes breaking out into song, which is what this movie did, they should have had it be, don't shake your head. It was about every 10 minutes that
Okay.
there was a song.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I would have had them have musical numbers, as we'll call them, but more in the sense that it was in Arthur's head. That's what I would have liked.
Most of them were.
A couple of them were, but not all of them. And the ones that weren't felt really out of place.
I'd say more than half were in his head.
Yeah, but the ones that weren't, okay, so that would have worked. If you would have got, if we're saying 60% of them were in his head, cut the other 40, and the movie would have probably been pretty good. I just felt like it was over the literally the last 20 minutes when it was all right, we can feel the movie is ending, and it's musical number. I'm like, this is horrible. It went from I really wanted to like it. And it wasn't the worst movie I've seen. But I can see why it's getting kind of the dismissal, and the critics and the audiences are kind of eating into it because it had potential. The first one was good. And like I said, I think the musical idea was cool. The idea there was cool. It's not been done with this kind of movie. But I would have they had to slow it down. And also, in my opinion, I talked with Cody about this. I think the music, unlike, say, La La Land or The Greatest Showman, that are a little bit, I mean, that's a very, very different movie.
I'm wondering what you're going to say here. Go ahead.
Not memorable at all.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say it wasn't good.
No, Lady Gaga was good, and so was.
I thought Joaquin Phoenix could sing pretty well. Joaquin
did
I'm sure he sang
a good job.
Before.
They sang well, but the music itself, I will never listen to ever again. So no, but their voices, great, amazing, but memorable, No, not one. Couldn't tell you one song in the movie. Not one. Other than the
Okay.
actual songs. Also, I'm just critiquing left, right, and center here.
Sure, go ahead.
I was just at a baseball game. Go
Tigers.
Missed opportunity. They're talking about building a mountain. I never heard "Ain't No Mountain High Enough." Where was it? Where was it? Come on. We couldn't get the licensing for that one. We couldn't get the licensing for that song. Like, I was like, they're going to throw that in here somewhere. No, they didn't. And they had a couple oldies in there.
Yeah, that was because this movie, I think, takes place in 1983, and that song came out before that.
I don't know for sure. If it didn't, then so be it. But
I will look that up.
Okay.
But that's a good point. I didn't even think of that. That would have been perfect for this movie. Now that you say that, because I didn't even think of that.
67.
Release.
It came out. I got it.
Okay.
1967. So I think that was a missed opportunity because that reference was made 3 or 4 times about building a mountain. Like, that's what they wanted to do. And I think they could have tied that song in, maybe had a little bit of a darker twist to it, and it would have felt nice. Like, again, really liked the first movie. Once I saw reviews for this, my expectations fell a little bit, and I still was hopeful, but I was disappointed. Why? What is your take? I mean, I know you liked it a bit more, but what do you have anything to counter that, or?
Yeah, I mean, so I went with Siri and Cody a couple hours before you did, and we walked out, and I asked them first. I'm like, "What did you guys think?" And they actually seemed to somewhat enjoy it. I've seen things online these last few days before seeing this movie that the critic and the audience score was very low. People online saying it's a waste of money to go see this. It's a waste of time. Worst sequel ever. I saw people saying that Morbius and Madam Web were better.
Wow.
Yeah, movies. I saw a couple people try to argue that Borderlands is a better movie than this.
That's a horrible take. Like, Borderlands was bad. Take. Like, this movie,
bad movie.
This movie was better than Borderlands, but this movie, to me,
and it's better than Morbius, and it's better than Madam Web.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think that's fair. But it was just so disappointing because it's like you had such a good first one, and even like I think the plot of him, going to trial and stuff, and that kind of happening.
Yeah,
I thought it was
like the second half of the movie.
Like I liked it.
And they could have made like a Joker on trial movie pretty sweet.
Yeah,
it's a cool idea.
I don't know about the whole him and Harley, like how they kind of just met. It felt sort of rushed. They just happened to see each other, boom. But whatever.
Well, so do you know about her in the comics?
I don't know. I don't know much about her in the comics.
Okay, so she is a therapist.
Okay.
And he is in the asylum, and so she is like his doctor, basically. And
okay. So they did kind of play into that a little bit,
but they changed her backstory. But what's cool about the character is like the Joker's so evil, he's able to turn this psychiatrist into Harley Quinn, right? This crazy lady. So that's what's cool about it. And so yeah, they went a different route with it, which is interesting. Don't know. I don't really like it, but I don't know. It's weird. Like, I don't really think of the first movie or this movie as a superhero movie. I don't know if you do.
I don't. I don't either.
And I think a lot of people do, which is like what hurt the movie too, right? So
I don't think so. I think of it more as like an action drama and light on the action. More a drama than anything. When I say action, I think I just mean maybe a gritty drama, not gritty. We're not hitting the gritty. A gritty.
Not hitting the gritty. Yeah, gritty.
No.
Yes. And this movie's not performing well in the box office. I think domestically it actually did worse opening weekend than Morbius did.
Ooh,
which ouch. Yeah, brutal. I mean the first movie made over $1 billion. It broke the record for highest rated R-rated movie at that time. And so that's what really greenlit, or you could argue forced, this movie to be created. Um, Todd Phillips came out and said a couple different things. He didn't really talk with DC about any of this when making this movie. Um, Joaquin Phoenix had a dream about certain parts of this movie. The thing about the first movie was some days, this is what they said, some days they would just throw out the script and do something, right? And that's what made it into the movie. And so it's like,
Well, it
that's
worked out
cool.
great.
Yeah, that's cool if it works, but when you do it here, maybe it doesn't work that well, right? So, I think the way we should go about talking about this movie, not going through the entire thing, but just breaking it up a little bit. So, what did you think when the movie opened and it's like an animated cartoon where it's trying to depict that Arthur Fleck and the Joker are two different personalities, which becomes a thing later in the movie.
I missed half of that. Like when we walked in,
okay.
that
Walked
had
in a
already
little late.
started. Yeah, we walked in a
okay.
little late, and I was like, "Oh, this is this an ad? Is this part of the because we weren't our show was at 9:20 and we walked in around 9:25, 9:26. Normally you're sitting at 15-20 minutes of ads.
Yeah.
I don't know if they skipped the ads, but we walked in about 5-6 minutes late and the movie had already been rolling. So I was kind of shocked.
Did you see the animation at all, or did you
I
miss
did.
that whole thing?
I caught maybe the last 30 seconds of the animation, and then the movie rolled in. Yeah, so I don't know how long was that little section.
Maybe 2-3 minutes.
Okay, wow, yeah. So that started maybe a couple.
Yeah, I mean, when we went, our showing started at 6:20, but the actual movie probably didn't start till 6:40.
Like always, like every movie ever. Although I got caught recently with we went and saw Emma and I the 40th anniversary. I think 40th. I might be quoting that wrong. Something anniversary of the movie Coraline, and it was a re-release, and that started right on the money, right at its start time. So I don't know, maybe the theater.
Were you late to that?
Yeah. You know how I am. I usually show up about 5 minutes.
Seeing a trend.
5 minutes after, but apparently the theater we go to, who I won't name unless they want to give us money,
yeah,
or not even money, like a hat. I'll take a hat.
That'd be cool. Or a free ticket.
Yeah, free ticket or a hat.
Free ticket every once in a while would be cool.
That'd be cool. But yeah, I guess they've been starting a little sooner. But so I didn't catch a lot of the animation there to answer your question with a 2.5 minute answer.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to set up the fact that maybe Arthur Fleck and the Joker are two different people and that it's like a split personality, right? Which is things we've seen depicted in movies and shows in the past, right? So I don't think it's a hard way of explaining how that works, but I think the animation did a decent job of trying to explain how it could be possible.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that basically the Joker was the one doing all this bad stuff, and Arthur Fleck wasn't in control, right? So, the first half of the movie, he's in Arkham Asylum. I thought the movie looked beautiful the way it was shot. I thought that was cool. So too.
Yeah.
With the rain and like the aesthetic that they're going for, I thought that all worked really well. Now here's the thing with the musical, right? I think they explain it actually in a good way because he meets Harley Quinn, Lee, as they call her, in a music therapy class as a way to cope with trauma. Yeah. And so I think them explaining that and them two meeting there, it was a good way to explain the musical aspect to me. Because I thought the way people were making it seem was that it's all a musical and it comes out of nowhere, right? And so I thought the way they explained it in the movie worked well. I didn't mind the musical numbers. Most of them, to me, seemed like they're in his head. But there was a point, I'll say this, there was a point near the end where I was like, okay, this is one too many.
Right? That was for me when it really hit too. Was like 15 minutes left, I can tell. And we get like 2 musical numbers, and I'm just like, all right, you're ruining it. It was already kind of sour, and you're just, putting it down. You're making sure
Yeah,
that
and I think it's almost like, oh, we have Lady Gaga in the movie. Let's put more musical numbers in.
music.
That's almost what it
Yeah.
felt like to me.
Yeah, they both, I don't know. I think they both did a good job. I think the musical
They
aspect.
look great.
Yeah,
They sounded great.
I read
But
something
the songs
that
weren't memorable. You're right.
the
I
director,
agree to that.
I read, when he came out with the idea, got a ton of praise from other directors. This is a great idea. This has never been done. Wow, wow, wow. Go and do it. Since then, none of them have backed him up since it came out. They've all been like,
really?
ooh, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we're
I don't know if that was I don't know if
they
that
got
was a
an
good idea,
11
which is
minute standing
interesting.
ovation for this movie. Did you hear that?
Which is
They got
crazy.
They got 11 minutes standing ovation. 11 minutes.
Yeah, I wouldn't have clapped. I didn't clap at the end.
Imagine clapping for anything for that long. That's absurd.
I don't think I could.
No,
I would need to see
your
something.
hands would fall asleep or hurt.
I'd need to see something pretty incredible.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's mainly the first half of the movie is that aspect of things, which was okay.
Them kind of building up their
slower.
friendship.
Yeah, I mean, right. Arthur Fleck doesn't talk for the first 10 minutes.
Did you think they were actually, when they're at the movie showing there, and Lee lights the piano on fire? Did you actually think they were going to escape there?
I did.
Okay, so
because I didn't watch any trailers. So I didn't know what was happening, but I assumed they have to get out of here at some point, right? And
that's what I thought too.
And I didn't know where the movie was going.
Yeah, so I actually thought, I'm like, wow, they're actually gonna escape jail here. Like her little stunt that she just pulled is gonna get them out. So I kind of thought that too. But
yeah,
obviously that didn't happen.
Now the second half of the movie, and this is where I'm gonna get into things that bothered me. The second half of the movie is a trial for Arthur Fleck about committing these murders that we all saw in the first movie.
Yes.
This is a cool idea. I like this idea, and I think it could have worked. The issue was that they kept having characters come up to the stand and question Arthur and give their statements. And this is all shit we've seen in the first movie. It's like, I've experienced this already. Yeah. Now, it's cool to see it from their point of views. So Zazie Beetz comes back. And there was other returning characters as well. It's just like, this is stuff we experienced in the first movie already, right? So I didn't feel like we had to see this much stuff. So I don't know. Did that bother you at all?
It did, because it was just additional exposition with no extra content, I guess you could say. Nothing breaking came out of each of those individuals' testimonies. It was exactly what happened in the first movie, and they didn't seem to sway. None of them, not a single one of them, seemed to have swayed in one direction, that Arthur was this different individual, or they were all just yeah, that's kind of how he was. It just felt unnecessary, almost. I was almost waiting for someone to be like, this is him and Joker are two different people, some kind of breaking moment there. Maybe not even breaking, but something. And it just felt like I was wasting my time watching that section of the movie, not the actual movie.
Well,
but I didn't feel like anything was being added.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is my favorite scene in the movie. When Gary takes the stand, we let free. He kissed him on the head and sent him off. In the first movie, I thought the Gary scene was really good. Him being up there crying, him being traumatized, him saying, I mean, this is 2 years later, right? Him telling Arthur that his life has been fucked up since, he's scared to do anything. I thought that whole scene was really good. If they would have done more stuff like that, that would have been cool.
Yeah, that one was, and he really expresses, you were one of the few people that saw me for who I was, and
You never made fun of me.
Yeah, like if we could have maybe leaned into that, but that wasn't used at all. Gary was gone and he moved
No.
on. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
And,
know.
and like him dressed up in that's the scene where he's drunk. He's dressed up as Joker and he's using that weird voice. Um, but like even at the end of that scene, he didn't want to like say anything else. Like he didn't have any other questions. He didn't want to make a statement about it.
Yeah.
You could tell like hit his character, like hit him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, seeing how he affected this person. So I thought that scene was cool, but yeah, the rest of it, like I think they could have done something. Maybe instead of a couple musical scenes, they focus more on the Harvey Dent character. I thought that might have been really cool, just like his point of view
That
on certain
was
things,
absolutely
how he's trying
brushed
to
over.
get him, and
Yeah. That
yeah,
was completely brushed over.
the smug young Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
But yeah, that so that scene was. I thought like the scenes later on in the prison were all pretty good with the guards. Um, their acting, I thought they were great in the movie. Um, when things really start to pick up a little bit, I would say when that car bomb goes off. I don't know. Like, do you think? Let me ask you this: do you think with the lawyer that he had and the case they're trying to build that he was two different people? Do you think there's any chance they win that case? Because I don't.
Uh,
Like before
probably.
he goes rogue, fires her. Did you think they had a chance? Because I never believed they did.
Yes. I think they could have maybe had a chance, to be completely
Okay.
honest. I think
I
it,
think nowadays you could, but I think back then no one would have believed it.
yeah, maybe not back then. Just because you could say that Arthur was always a little bit off, as, was
Yeah.
kind of mentioned throughout the movie, but he has these moments,
Hmm.
Joker, you could say, where he totally snaps and is embodied by something completely different. So, yeah, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, that was something where I was like excited to see where things were gonna go when he fired her. Um, I
Didn't
don't know.
really
Were
go
you
for
buying it at all?
it didn't really
Were you
go
buying it
anywhere
at
after
all?
that.
That no, I thought it would, but it didn't. But
Yeah.
did you at all throughout this movie get convinced that maybe he does have a split personality? Maybe there are two different people in the head, and because I
Um
was trying to think it maybe a little bit
yeah,
in
yeah.
halfway through the movie.
I think a little bit. I think that's how it's supposed to be portrayed though. I think
Yeah.
actually a great point where if I was on the defense, if he had his lawyer
Hmm.
still with him, was actually the Gary scene where you can see it kind of flip from quote unquote Joker talking and he's got this silly Western accent. How to do, Gary, or whatever.
Elmer Fudd.
Yeah, or whatever the hell he's got going on there.
Yeah.
Um, and when Gary says, you were one of the few people that didn't make fun of me and stuff, and you can see Arthur come out of the view,
Yeah.
I did care about you or whatever he said. I don't remember exactly. Um, that point right there, if I was his lawyer, is where I'd be like, I'd point at the jury and point at him and be like, look, you can see something just clicked right in his head right there, where you could
Yeah.
then further the argument that's two people, or that's a split personality. You can see him
Right.
immediately switch from this, I stabbed that guy multiple times to I did care about you. Like something's something is wrong there. I guess even the prosecution in the movie said that too. This is a deeply disturbed individual.
Well, yeah, and that one doctor that they interview earlier in the movie that's on the stand, he said one of his disabilities is being able to care for others, right? So,
Yeah, like a narcissist or a
right,
psychopath kind of personality.
yeah. So, I mean, you could have picked at that a little bit more too,
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's certain aspects of that, but yeah, and I think that's why that scene was one of my favorites. So, but yeah, the car bomb blows up, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Finally, he's escaping. I didn't know if like Lee did it. I didn't know who was behind it.
Yeah,
Um, I guess it's just one of his supporters, right? That did that.
pretty much.
Yeah. Uh, you see like Harvey Dent where like half his face is like blown up
Gone.
or
Yeah.
or fucked up. Yeah, and it's like, oh, there's the Two-Face reference.
Yep.
Yeah, and then he finds Lee, and at this point he's confessed that he is not the Joker and that he is just Arthur Fleck.
Yep.
And so Lee's basically given up on him. And I was like, where does things go from here? He gets captured again by the cops, goes back to prison. And then this is where we get into the ending of the movie. So this was an issue for a lot of people, and I want to see your thoughts on it, because I don't know how I feel about it personally still. And so maybe talking it through with you, you know, maybe we'll get somewhere here. But Arthur is asked told by a guard that visitors here for him. They start walking. The guard turns the corner. Arthur has this inmate with him that says, "Hey, Arthur, can I tell you a joke?" Tells him a joke, ends up stabbing him repeatedly. Arthur bleeds out. Arthur dies. And then you see in the background this guy's laughing hysterically and starts carving a smile into his face.
Yes.
New Joker, right? So I think this is pissing a lot of people off because they've basically throughout these two movies came to the ending saying Arthur Fleck was never the Joker, and he just inspired the actual Joker. And I think that pissed a lot of people off. I saw the two biggest things I saw was I hate that this is a musical and I hate the ending.
They reference that guy more than once. I don't know if you caught him, but
yeah, you see him in scenes. Like
he's in scenes and he's
down.
always in the back, staring and smiling.
Yeah.
So you could say he's grabbing inspiration and, you know, chewing on razors. I don't know, to build up that smile. I was okay with the ending because I get what they did. Like, okay, Arthur inspired what we know as Joker, that if you're going to go into, if you're going to go into the superhero universe, then, you know, Arthur was the inspiration for what becomes the Joker that fights with Batman. I'm all right with that. This is essentially, I mean, it was always a prequel. And do we really think that, you know, if you're going to tie it into that universe, because it is essentially, Arthur was never the Joker that was ever going to be capable of fighting like a Batman. Like he's just not there.
Wasn't crazy enough.
Yeah, he wasn't. So I'm okay with the ending. I didn't love it though. I didn't love it, you know, because you're right. We grew to kind of like Joaquin and him as Joker and growing with that, and then to just see him get brutally stabbed to death at the end of the movie, I don't know. It was a little disappointing.
And there were debates when the first Joker came out. It was like, is Joaquin's better? Is Heath Ledger's better?
I think Heath Ledger's,
because, you know, I mean, there were two different styles. I definitely do.
I think that,
but there were those arguments.
I think that exactly that, though. They are two very different styles. I think the first Joker was very unsettling. And honestly, there's some, you know, theories out there that they made this one less like that to not have unrest in the real world. Especially, like, you know, we're 30, 40 days out from like a huge election. Like, if you had, you know, kind of a movie that people could get behind, especially we're close to Halloween, like, I don't know, I don't think that was the mentality there. I don't think they planned for this movie to come out in 2024, 30 days before an election. Maybe they did. But, you know, maybe that played a little bit of a factor into it. Like, let's not make this as dark as the first movie.
Well, that was a fear with the first one.
Because the first movie is pretty dark. Here's another thing, like in this movie and the second one, they have the moments where they're going to like play that, I would say, like one of the more famous scores from the first one, which is like the bathroom dance scene. that famous score that they have in that. They like teased that more than
At the
once
beginning, earlier.
in this
Yeah.
movie, where I was kind of
Yeah.
hoping that's where this Joker movie was going to go, that dark feeling that we got in that first one. And this just felt it I don't know, maybe it felt sort of cheesy because it was a musical.
Yeah.
It didn't have that dark aspect, which again, not what they're going for, but it didn't work for this particular movie. Maybe it works for something else. It worked for La La Land. It worked for, Greatest Showman,
Yeah,
but those also don't have the Joker.
And he didn't kill anyone in this movie compared to how many bodies he had in the first one. And so I watched the first one again before seeing this. I've seen it a couple times. I always kind of assumed that he killed Sophie and her daughter when he went into their apartment that night. Guess he didn't.
Yeah.
He says earlier in the movie to Lee that he has killed 6 people, including his mom. So I went through, like, in my head, counting it up. Right, it's the 3 subway murders that he did. It was Murphy, his one coworker, and then his mother. Right, so I right then and there, I'm like, I guess Sophie isn't dead, and then she shows up later in the movie.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the first movie, you see him talking with that doctor, and he walks out with blood on his feet. So I guess maybe that doctor lived. Maybe that was in his head. I don't know. So there's some stuff there, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, I noticed at the end of the movie when I was done watching, like, oh, he didn't even like kill anyone in this movie or anything like that. I guess it's not as dark as what the first movie was. I mean, he does die himself at the end of this movie. Which, I mean, I guess, what if this movie performed really well? Would they be forced to make a third one? And would it be
not.
from the perspective of this new Joker? I mean, it's not going to happen. They've lost money on this. This movie reportedly, I guess, cost $200 million to make, and then with advertising and stuff, like they're going to lose a lot of money on this movie.
Well,
but
hey, you got to learn, and musicals for these type of movies. Think of so this is like a dark drama, and I don't think a musical works for this. They tried to kind of do a musical with like a superhero movie. What was that one? Was it The Marvels?
Yeah, they had a musical scene in it. On the planet they're on, they sing to talk.
Sing to talk. Musicals have a time and a place, and I think dark dramas, it doesn't work. I think superhero movies, it doesn't work. You could say some people could argue these kind of align a little bit. It's just not. It just wasn't the place, and it didn't work out how it could have. Like I said, maybe if you would have cut a little bit of it, it would have cleaned up a little bit, make the music semi more memorable. Give me one song that I will remember, maybe just one, and it would have been better. This I couldn't tell you the lyrics that they were saying. I couldn't even recite anything.
Yeah,
kind of disappointing. Musical, I'm supposed to remember some.
Well, what about when the Saints come marching in?
Well, no shit. Everyone knows that song.
That's one I know. Yeah. I sing it a couple times.
Okay, so like that's an aspect where the musical worked right there, like you said. And you've got all these people riled up in this prison, and they start singing a song that everyone knows. That works. But a random musical number when they're like, here we go. I'll give you an example. When they try to escape and she's on the fence getting pulled down and she's singing, not the place and time. Wrong place for that. Doesn't work. When I'll give you another where I know, but I'll give you another where it does work. When they ask, it's rated the first, I think it's the first musical number we get when they're asking Arthur, how court's going to go and stuff. And he's in the sitting area. They got the TV there. Yep, and he's staring at the TV, and then you see him start dancing around and singing around the room. And I thought, Joaquin did a good job singing there. Like, he didn't sound bad. Again, not memorable music-wise, but we then see boom, and it snaps, and it's in his head. That worked.
Right.
That worked well.
Yep. I agree.
It had its times where the musical worked, and it had its times where it was just too fucking much. It was just too much, and it's what it brought this movie down, I think.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that they tried something different,
They
something
tried it.
unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's a
yeah, I
lesson
agree.
for others.
No, but I mean, like you just said, some scenes it worked, and then some it didn't. Right there, I think we both agree too. There's one too many musical numbers, especially
Yeah.
near the end of the movie. Um, but yeah, so basically, Arthur Fleck is just a loser who fell through the cracks and was abused as a kid and failed by the system and was a virgin person that no one ever paid attention to, and that's it from the character basically. And and
Is
so
Lee actually pregnant?
I doubt it. I never believed
Okay.
it for a second when she said it. I don't
What
know.
if
Did you believe
that's
it?
the Joker? I don't know.
Could be. I don't know. And then, like, would there be another Harley Quinn in the future?
Maybe.
I don't know. Like, I in
I
this
don't know.
universe, I don't know. Right? So it's weird. I don't know. I don't know what to think of the ending. I can understand. I understand where people are coming from.
Yeah,
I
I
get
get it.
where the movie's
I
coming
didn't
from on
love
that too.
it. I
Yeah,
can see it. I can see where they went with it, but I didn't
yeah.
love it. I was like, oh, okay,
But I think what I
all right,
assumed in this movie is that he would crack even more and be even more crazy and
more
psychotic
crazy.
and be more
Yeah.
like the Joker. That's what I assumed going into the movie.
I was so turned off by the movie in the last 15 minutes. I think I just didn't
Yeah.
even care about the ending because
Mm,
I think it was that final music number where I was just
yeah.
like, I'm done. This needs to end. Like, I didn't even care. I was unfazed by his death because 5 minutes before he died, he was singing. So I couldn't even take the movie seriously at that point. Like, oh, you killed him. Okay, so be it. If we would have killed the musicals maybe a half hour before the movie, I could have maybe taken that death a little bit more seriously. But I think 5 minutes
Yeah.
before he died, we get a musical number from him. So
Yeah. Well,
hard to take
can
that
I just tell
serious.
you what I thought was going to happen? I
Yeah.
thought, um, I thought that he would, because they tease at the very beginning and then throughout this movie that there's two different personalities in his head. I just figured when he takes over, um, at his own court hearing and fires his lawyer, dresses up as the Joker. I thought from that point on, this guy, Arthur Fleck's gone. It's just the Joker. Crazy's coming out. Like I thought when the thing blew up, I thought maybe something would a switch would happen in his head. He would go end up being the kingpin of Gotham, right? He'd
Okay.
have all these
Yeah.
followers. Like that's where I thought the movie was gonna go, and it didn't.
Nope.
Right?
Nope. He
So
went to Lee and was like, let's go run away and build a log cabin in the woods.
yeah, like he basically falls in love with the stalker girl
Yeah.
and just he's a loser. That's what the movie is. Like he is a loser. He's not really the
Yeah.
Joker. I saw people say you should just call this movie Arthur Fleck. Um
Yeah. Pretty
but
much.
yeah.
Arthur
So
Fleck
I am
inspires the real Joker.
right. I am shocked that critics gave this such a low score, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, I
I feel
think
like
it's a
critics would eat this
little
shit up.
I think it's a little too low, to be completely honest.
30, I mean, hold on, I'll go back up to it. It was yeah, it's 33 for critics, 31 for audiences. So I understand that audiences would be lower,
Yeah.
but you would think critics would eat this shit up and like it may end up being nominated for something, right? But
Yeah,
it's
because
not. Like
it's edgy and
they
it's
don't like it.
different and it's something
Right.
new. Yeah, but I think that kind
Music,
of
talent. They have
I
to
think that
dance, sing.
I think that's kind of it speaks about the movie. The audience and the critics agree on this one. That's
Which is crazy.
that speaks volumes that they're so close to each other too. They're both within a 3-point range. That's rare.
Yeah.
Especially I feel like movies like this that try something vastly different, there's usually a huge swing in one direction or the other. The critics love
Hmm.
it and the audience hates it, or flip-flop that. You know, the critics hated it, but the audience, wow, they tried some new. One of those groups likes it. In this case, both agreed that this deserved, an E rating, a 30%. Did not pass. Do not
Yeah.
pass go. Do not collect 200. Go directly to jail.
Yeah. Yeah, so we can get into scoring
Scores.
here. Yeah. If you want
Okay.
to go first.
Yeah, I can go first. We touched on everything that I said. I started it by saying that I think the music aspect could have worked, but cut a little bit of it. I stand by that. Would I rewatch this? Probably not, which is unfortunate because I have seen the first one at least twice. At least twice. I saw it
And
in
you own it.
theaters, and I own it. Yeah, so I've seen it at
Yeah.
least twice. I saw it in theaters, and then I watched it once at home. And I could see myself watching it again. I like the first one a lot. It's dark, gritty drama, and I think Joaquin did a great job in that movie, and I think he does in this one too. And so does Lady Gaga. And the acting in this movie was done really well. It was just, even the writing and the plot, pretty good.
Yeah.
It was just the
And
direction
Joaquin
that
could have phoned it in, but he didn't. I think he gave a great performance. I agree with you.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
the direction by the director and the executive producers on this one, it failed. It didn't. The execution, the idea was good. The execution failed. They didn't carry out the idea well. With that said, I'm gonna go higher than maybe I'd rewatch it. Maybe.
You don't think it's in the 30s?
I don't think it's in the 30s.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go 50 out of 100.
Okay. So you never rewatch it?
Maybe I'd watch it.
Is it worth seeing in theaters once?
At a discounted ticket, yes. But don't go. And here I should mention this too. I never do this, but we went at a late showing, and I got the best seats. M&I literally center of the theater. Center height and width were in the direct center of the theater.
Unlike
at like an IMAX showing. So I went to go see this in its best form to try and have as good of an experience as I could. We were in the center of the theater, IMAX, late
filled
showing.
Up in there?
Theater was pretty filled up, surprisingly.
Actually, okay. Wow.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked. We had quite a few people around us. And like I said, it fell short. I'm going to go 50 because I don't think it was horrible. I think the idea was there, and I was entertained up until the last 15 minutes, where I just wanted the movie to end. I was entertained throughout the rest because I think I was very hopeful, and nothing ever came about. So I'm going to go with 50 out of 100, and that's my high score.
That's higher than what I was expecting from you. So
okay.
We'll consider that a win. I do have a quick funny story really quick. So at the theater we go to, there's an IMAX, which is newer, and then there's an Epic theater, right? And so Epic has the big screen, similar to IMAX.
I think we were in
sound.
Epic. Yeah, we were in Epic.
Oh, okay.
Not IMAX.
Yeah,
sorry.
so we also saw an
shit.
Epic, but yeah, basically it is, right? But one's just a little bit louder. We have been seeing movies recently in IMAX. A lot of the movies in IMAX, more than Epic, a lot more recently, over the last, I'd say, 4, 5, 6 months, whatever. And so before the movie started, I got up to go piss, right? And there's an option where, because we're usually in the back rows, if you go to the top of the theater, you can walk out the door and there's like a bathroom right there. Yeah. I get up, I walk all the way to the left side where the door usually is because we're in IMAX. And I walk, dude, I got 5 feet away from the door and it's dark in there. There's no door. I'm like, what? And everyone's kind of looking at me, and I go the opposite way and find the door. And so that threw me off, and it would have been more embarrassing if this movie wasn't tanking as bad as it was, because there's really no one in the theater to see me besides a couple people. So
that is
I thought that was kind of
funny.
Also,
though. Probably looked like a
Cody,
crazy
like, where the hell are you going? Right? Yeah, I tried walking into a wall, like I was gonna phase right through it. Yeah. And I like just throw my hands up and I walk in the other direction, so I look like an idiot. But whatever. to talk about this movie, I enjoyed it more than most, and that's usually not the case. I feel like I usually do tend to agree with either audiences or critics in the fact that they're both the same, and I'm not, maybe I'm as crazy as Arthur Fleck is.
I think you might be, depending on what number you give this.
Yeah, no, I'm not that crazy. I think I'm gonna go with the 69. I don't think it's in the 70s.
Yeah, I'd say
range.
you're crazy. That's pretty crazy. 69.
You think that's too high?
I think that's.
I walked out though, and I didn't think it was a waste of money.
So you would
I thought the movie dragged.
This.
I could rewatch it. Yes, I would probably rewatch it.
At a 69, I could see myself catching that on some sort of streaming service at least.
Yeah, now it is at that score, right? Where it's like, I don't know if I'd really recommend it to people because I know it's hated, and it's a hard movie to explain. Imagine explaining this to someone.
That is hard.
Outside of just saying it's a musical.
Yeah, I would say, like I said, if you've seen the first one and you can catch this on like maybe streaming or
the first one's far better than this.
Oh, the first one's so much better than this.
Yeah.
By a long shot.
I did see someone try to make the argument that this one was better.
What would you rate the first one? I don't think we'll ever review it.
Probably in the low 90s.
Okay, me too.
I really love the first one.
I really like the first one.
I thought the score was amazing.
I thought it mid to low 90s.
Acting. Yeah. But yeah, I still I don't know. And maybe it's because I went in with such low expectations. Maybe it was, but I don't know. And I was kind of hoping when I walked out that Siri or Cody, the people I went with, didn't like it, but they kind of seemed to agree with me. So I'm curious.
Heard they both kind of liked it, which is strange.
Yeah, I think actually Cody texted after 6.9 out of 10, which would have been
which is crazy. Cody's listening, probably not, but he didn't like Alien at all. He thought it was stupid and silly, and but he liked this. Come on,
he loves the first one too.
Because I thought Alien was a pretty good movie for
it's better than this.
Definitely. It was a good sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
I was on a good little kick of movies after seeing Borderlands, and then I saw this, and I'd say we're back down again, but I'm sure something else good will come out soon.
But this is better than Borderlands.
It is better than Borderlands, yeah, but they set the bar for that on the ground. We did that review. If you haven't listen to it. First movie I've ever been to where I got a little tired, and I was like, well, it's okay. I'm going to go to bed. And I slept for a good 20, 25 minutes. Like, that's a crazy thing to even say. Like, I was like, yeah, it's all right if I miss a little bit of this. I'll pick up at the end.
Yeah. I asked Siri, I go, did you like it? And he's like, I fell asleep a little bit, but I did work earlier this morning. So, but I did enjoy it. I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, all right.
Borderlands icon.
He's fallen asleep a lot.
I've only fallen asleep in 2 movies that I can, well, maybe more, but 2 that I remember off the top of my head where I slept for quite a bit. Borderlands and actually Oppenheimer.
Uh-oh.
I know. Dude,
that was consensus movie of the year for us last year on the pod.
I still loved it. I rewatched it.
Yeah.
I rewatched it.
Do you own it?
Yeah, I own it. I got the 4K Blu-ray. But the first time that we saw it in that fucking dome, yeah, that was miserable. I had the person's hair on me. My knees hurt. I won't ever forget. I had a Rice Krispie in the theater there, and it was so gross, and I'll never forget it. And honestly, I don't really like Rice Krispies anymore because they would try to be hip.
Ruined it for you. The dome ruined it for you.
The dome ruined dome experiences. Not that I've had many movie experiences in a dome. And then it also ruined Rice Krispies simultaneously. Real shame. Yeah. Don't go to the dome.
Well, that was our Joker 2 review. I think the plan is we might do a bonus episode next week, maybe. And I think the plan is Terrifier 3, maybe. Heavy maybe.
The plan
I saw reports people left halfway through because it's so disturbing to watch. Not like scary, but like gross. Yeah, I don't know.
We haven't seen
the other ones either. I'm just gonna walk into that movie and watch.
I can do
We'll see.
scary. I don't like gory and gruesome. Not
Two
my
clown
cup of
movies
tea.
back to back. Andrew,
Yeah,
clown movies.
I don't know if I can do that. That's a little too much for me.
Yeah, so we'll figure it out. I don't know. I think I could.
The
convince Brian
schedule's
to go.
fluid. Yeah, he might go see that with you.
Or maybe I'll tell Aiden, hey, we're going to see Transformers 1 if you want to come. He'll come see it. And then it's actually Terrifier 3.
You're going to have to buy him his ticket.
Yeah, I'd buy it for him.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. I'm Premium Plus again, so I don't have to pay the booking fees. I figured out how to do it. But yeah, thank you for listening. That was our Joker 2 review. We will see you next time.
Peace.